But that brings us to the Grizzlies, where our boy Reek's point guard Marcus Smart was shipped out. Tyus Jones has now gone. He is no longer the best backup point guard in the league because he's no longer a backup. Derrick Rose is gone there. Josh Christopher has been traded there, which we'll get to more later when I share my frustrations about the Rockets. And Desmond Bane got his bag as well, deservedly so.
I'll start, man. First off, shout out to Bane for getting his bag. I didn't expect to see that big of a payday, but small market team, you got to kind of pay to keep your guys, and he's somebody that's shown drastic improvement in his first few years in the league. So I can only expect him to get better as time goes on. The smart move, it does suck losing Tyus Jones, but I think Marcus Smart can fill in a little bit of what Jones does while doing like a lot of what Dillon Brooks was able to do defensively, but a little better leadership, has a lot more experience, has been to a number of conference finals, been to an NBA finals. I think this team kind of needs that. That's why I also like the Derrick Rose move. That's somebody that's been through a lot in the league. He's been from a number one option to a guy that wasn't getting minutes on the playoff team last year. So he's seen it all. I think that's a very good guy to have, especially with like Ja Morant and all the situations that he has had off the court. I think Derrick Rose is a good guy to have. We'll see. I do like taking a flyer on Josh Christopher. I feel like he's somebody that's shown he's talented enough to get NBA minutes. It's just Houston is kind of dysfunctional. Wasn't able to get on the court consistently there, but he's somebody that definitely has a nice game, and I'll be interested to see how he's able to produce in Memphis. And G.G. Jackson, I feel like that was a steal of a pick. I had like a first-round grade on him personally, so the fact that they were able to get him in the middle of the second round, I think was an excellent pick. And Memphis is very good at developing guys, and they got a lot of guys that are probably going to have to step up. We've seen Jake LaRavia in Summer League. Maybe like David Roddy. G.G. Jackson could be in that pool too, Zaire Williams. Like, they got a lot of young wing players that are going to be fighting for minutes, so we'll see which one of those guys are the strongest of the bunch and will be able to produce for this team.
Yeah, I think the guys that they brought in as well just have a really good fit, not only just basketball-wise, but just with the overall aura of this organization. Like Marcus Smart, he kind of embodied Boston when he was there. Like, he was like the heart and soul of that team. But I feel like he comes into this team and he kind of has that like Dillon Brooks dog in him with way better production, right? So going off of that, it's like the lineup might look a little bit small, but the fact that Marcus Smart is the caliber of defender he is, I think that makes up for it and keeps it fine, even if they do end up running a lineup that's like Ja Morant, Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane. I think that's like one of the scenarios where, yeah, you can be small and you can get away with it, especially when so much of your defense hinges on Jaren Jackson's impact anyways. It's like they should be fine, and they're still going to be good defensively, even with that size downgrade. Beyond that, I'm really interested to see what Derrick Rose does because, as we know, he did not play very much with the Knicks last season, but I feel like he still has something to contribute, and I think a lot of people do. Now, how will he pan out? I'm not sure. A lot of times there are guys that get signed, and it's like name value, like this looks cool, and they don't really end up doing much because let's not act like the Knicks were a bad team last year. Like, Derrick Rose could have contributed to winning basketball. It just wasn't in the cards. So I do hope he gets a shot here, and I think with Ja missing the early portions of the season, it should definitely give him a chance to shine. So I'm excited to watch the beginning of the season just to see how these new pieces fit in, and then it's going to be like kind of a second new beginning when Ja comes back from his suspension, and it's like, now how does all of this really fit together in this puzzle? But I think overall, just having that veteran impact of Marcus Smart is going to be so huge for what this franchise does. And Derrick Rose, being a guy whose play style in his prime was very similar to what Ja Morant does now, should just only further his development. And I think he can take him to even greater heights than he's ever been.
Yeah, the Marcus Smart addition was definitely important. And with Dillon Brooks out the door, they definitely needed that defense from a culture standpoint because Brooks was a big part of their culture. You can debate how south that went over the last half of the season, but previous to that, at least, he was very important to their culture. The biggest question now is their wings, because like you said, depending on the team, you can probably roll with the Ja, Bane, Smart lineup, but some teams, regardless of how good Smart is defensively, are just going to eat that up. They're just going to be too long. They're going to have too much size. They're going to have too much physicality, especially when you consider the fact that Brandon Clark's going to be out for the majority of, if not the entirety of next season. Memphis is going to be small again next year, so that's something you have to consider. And it's something that they just haven't been able to replace. And since they traded away Rudy Gay to the Raptors a decade ago, they just haven't been able to have a small forward consistently on this team. And next year's probably going to be no different. You guys alluded to the young guys that are going to have to take a step. They're definitely going to need that because right now, starting lineup or bench, they just don't have wings, and that's the biggest concern. Jaren can clean up a lot, but they're going to need someone, whether it's a Roddy, whether it's LaVravia, whether it's Gigi Jackson, whether it's Zaire Williams. Someone needs to give them some amount of consistent minutes on the wing. Otherwise, they might really find it tough at times. They'll probably be fine through the regular season, but especially come postseason time, if you don't have a wing or two that you can rely on to at least give you decent minutes, it could be a tough going for them depending on the matchup.
I mean, they came back to bite them in the playoffs, down the stretch against LA. I mean, Braun was getting matched up against Xavier Tillman. It's just like, if you don't got any wings to match up with the elite wings in the league, it's going to be tough. And it's so funny that you say it, because I was literally thinking as you were talking, ever since they traded Rudy, they've been running guys like Shane Battier. Tony Allen was on the wing. They had I forget, Tayshaun Prince was running wing for them some years. Like, they just were just rotating guys in and out. And it's really been a problem for a decade. And Dillon Brooks, for all the, I guess, not even awkward stuff, but just, him making news, off of the floor for whatever reason, he was pretty solid for them for, the type of production that they had previous, in the Gasol, Randolph, and Conley era. He was pretty good for, all of the issues that he was bringing, in the media and stuff. So, they got guys that have young talent potential, but who's going to step up, I'm not sure. I was disappointed to see Zaire Williams. First, he was hurt, and then he kind of took a step back last season after a promising rookie year. So there's just more guys in there that, have an opportunity. It's just somebody has to rise to the top, at least, because they got guys that are there to do it, but who's going to do it, that's to be seen. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and having to play a little bit small, I think it is good for them that it can pass a little bit more in the regular season. I think it will be more of a playoff issue as it's been in the past few years. They've been able to rack up a lot of wins and be a very quality regular season team, no matter what the quality of their wings has been recently. So if some of those guys, especially the younger guys, can kind of just develop throughout the course of the season and then be ready to go come playoff time, that should put them on a very nice pace heading into next postseason.
It'll definitely be what they're relying on. They're going to need that to have that postseason success.